Hello, I'm Cecilia Louie of Paper Zen. In this video, I'll be showing how to quill the lowercase letter F, and I'll be gluing it to a card that's 4 1/4 by 5.5 inches. The reason why I like that so much is because it's just the right size for one letter, and it's basically a 8.5 by 11 sheet of paper where I've cut it in half and folded it in half. Then what I did was go to a sunny window and put this template against the window and follow along with the guideline and use removable tape to tape the card against the window. Then I took a dried up pen and traced the letter onto my card. Now I can easily remove the template and the letter is on my card. And if I stray off of that, no one's going to notice. When I study the lowercase letter f, it's actually quite straightforward. There's only two areas that are curved, right here and here. So let's get started with folding the folds first. This is the first strip, so following along, I need to basically fold the sheet this way. And with my fingers, I'm just going to gently guide these two edges together before I crimp severely there to make a 90-degree fold. We never want to fold a little off. That's exaggeration, of course, but basically we want to have these edges even so that when we go to glue, it's going to make our job a lot easier. So just keep that in mind as you follow along the template and make the folds where you need it to go. And for here, I'm just going to pretend that the curve is there as I make my next fold. I just need it to, somewhat visually guide me. It's not like it needs to necessarily be following the curve right at this moment. I tend to like to do all my folds all at one time, I guess. Kind of makes the task efficient that way, right? However way you want to do yours is just fine too. Okay, I know it doesn't look like a lot, but it's essentially all folded. So let's get started on doing those curves. I'm going to be using a crochet hook because I like this larger diameter more so than this smaller diameter of my quilling needle. I just find it's easier to handle like a larger curve like that. And gripping right here, that's right there, I'm just going to start softening that curve into that segment by just running the sheet between my finger and my tool. And as you can see, the more I soften, the more curve the paper gets. And do you see where I had to pause before I got to that curve here? So there's a bit more of a curve right there. So I want to actually grip it the opposite way and sort of smoothen that curve out. Do you see how that's smoother now? Now, whenever I over curl something, I don't worry about it because it's so easy to uncurl it. So right about there is starting to do too much. That was when I was pausing right there as I softened. So again, not a big deal. I'm just going to grip right there and just kind of gently uncurl a little. The paper is so forgiving. There we go. So that was not too hard, right? Now onto this segment. Now because this curve is so much more acute, I'm going to be rubbing this segment. And I'm going to rub it just on the fleshy part of my finger here. So not near where my knuckle is, where it's harder, I'm just going to lay that strip, that segment, right on the fleshy part and rock the crochet hook back and forth. And as you can see, it almost over curled, didn't it? But again, not a big deal. Just gently uncurl that. And if you need to, you can always re-crimp your folds just to tell the paper where to go, because you've got that power. And that's pretty much there. So I think this is pretty much ready to go to our work surface now. Now, whenever I study a letter before I go to glue, I try to tackle the hard parts first. Anything to do with an inside shape or like a shape like this where it's harder to get access to, that's what I'm going to try to get to first. So in this case, I'm going to apply the glue here and here, and we'll see from there where we go. So just because the ends are here doesn't mean that you have to start here or end here. I would say just tackle it based on how you feel comfortable with tackling the letter. So I'm going to be using Aleene's Original Tacky Glue, and I'm going to apply it to this thin plastic card here. I'm just going to put down a bead and smear it flat. Then when I go to glue, I'm going to dip very strategically, so I can easily bend this corner out of the way and dip just where the glue ends, right at that corner, and right where the glue smear ends right there. That way I can easily determine exactly where I want glue, and even this corner I think I would like to have that dipped as well. And you can always check underneath to make sure the glue has coated and re-dip if you need. So I'm going to apply the straight edge first because I have such good control over that. And you see, I'm working with such a small area. It's so easy for me to control where I want the strip to go down, because you see here, there's no glue here and there's no glue here. So I don't have to worry about it dirtying my work surface or anything. Now just keep in mind it is fresh, so it is, you know, it is capable of coming off your card. So don't do what I'm doing, okay? So the reason why I smeared off to the corners so that when I go to lift this strip up, I can slide this underneath and it'll be right towards the edge of my glue card. If I had smeared the glue on the inside of the card, it's hard to get right to the edge like I need it to be right here. So I'm going to tackle gluing here and here this time. Again, just be strategic about where you lay down your strip on top of the glue. And this is the part where you realize, okay, you've been holding your breath this whole time. Now's a good time to start breathing again. Now, because I could dip here, but once I do and I need to dip there, I could accidentally smear glue there. So I'm going to work my way backwards. I'm going to dip here, move it along, and then dip. And then that way I don't risk getting the glue on the card. Now with a gentle tug this way, using my tweezers, I'm just going to just gently straighten this length out, because if I don't do a gentle tug, the paper could actually kind of be softer when it gets placed, and so this line could be not as straight as we would want. I find just a gentle tug this way, just as you place, helps makes it straight. And while the glue is still drying, you still have forgiveness. If you need to pick it up and adjust, go ahead and do that. Because you use so little glue, it's not as noticeable, I find, if you tend to make a mistake and you need to reposition. So I'm just going to apply glue just to here for now, just to make sure I get a good piece of security for that next big curve. Now, on a hot summer day in Vancouver, Canada, this glue puddle could dry quite readily because it's so thin. So if you find that your glue is developing a skin on top, I would suggest that you just start with a new puddle. And even though it's not summer, it's a risk I just don't want to take with such a large curve, so I'm just going to reapply new glue. And how do you know when your glue puddle is getting, dry and risking a skin developing? You can feel fresh glue releases your paper when you dipped into it. It releases quite readily. And I find as it dries, the release, the suction, you can feel the difference. It's not as easy to separate it from the glue. And that's generally when I start listening to my glue telling me, okay, time to get new glue. And we're using so little. So, I mean, I don't like wasting resources either, but I find for something as challenging as this, I do need a fresh puddle, and I don't want to take the risk of ruining my work. So again, because I've got just that area to deal with, look how easy that was. It's secure here, and this finger is determining where I go to position this curve here. That means this whole hand is free to determine this curve as I set it down and push down to let the glue set. This is not glued down, so you don't have to worry about that part. So I'm going to tackle this stroke and that stroke next. Again, just maneuver your glue puddle around until it's sitting just below exactly where you need it to touch your paper. So now we've just got the two sides left. Now I'm going to place another card here. It's a stiffer card and it's much thicker. And I'm just going to use the same two pieces of removable tape that I used when I was transferring the image to my card here. You see this part's not glued yet, and actually I forgot about that part. So how about we fix that first? And if you ever need to, you can just bend these guys out of the way. It's not a big deal. They're just corners. Don't be afraid to move them where you need it to go temporarily. Okay, so now I'm going to position my thicker card here and use some removable tape just to set it in place. And what that's going to do is help me guide this corner so it matches up with that corner. I won't be going too far this way or too far this way. It'll help guide me. And there's enough, things that we're all looking at as we're doing that last final glue down. So we don't want to, you know what, I've been talking so much that this is forming a skin again. You can also tell if you tilt your card over to the side, it'll have a different kind of sheen to it when it's not as fresh. Again, you just don't want to ruin your work when you're just about there and then you pick up skin from your glue. And then, I'll even change the shape of my smear. So in this case, because it's so long and skinny, do you see how these ones were more square patches? This is more long and skinny. So you can always, change up, customize your glue puddle for your own sake, right? I should have dipped that corner first, actually. So what I'm going to do is keep this hand in the air and just dip with my left hand. So you guys can't tell because I'm looking at it from the side view, but this part here is not touching my card. Because we never want to have a messy surface in the end, right? We are magicians. We make people go, how did you do that? So right now I am pressing down on this side because I know this corner is secure. I'm just doing a gentle tug to the right just to give that final straightening of that side. And then I'm just going to pick up a little bit of glue on the tip of my quilling tool, and I didn't pick that up cleanly actually because I had some glue from another time. So what I'm going to do is pick it up again. Now, can you see where I picked it up? There's one half that has no glue on it. I'm going to use that side to push aside the paper and then smear the glue onto this side of the paper. And always have tissue on hand to clean off your tool. And then what I'm going to do is make those two corners meet. There, we've got a nice flush surface. And that's your letter F. As for how to fill in the letters, please watch my previous videos for a variety of ideas. Don't forget to visit my blog to download your free template to give it a try. I want to keep improving my tutorials, so would you let me know what tip was new for you in the comments below, or what technique you enjoyed learning about most? If you enjoyed this video, I hope you'll give it 2 thumbs up. Thanks and see you next time!